What do the Abomination and the giant wolf Fenris have in common? No, it's not the fact that they both just got utterly wrecked by the Hulk in combat, though that's also true. But what I'm talking about is how they're the only two villains in the MCU that were able to draw blood in their fight with the Hulk. Yeah, that's right, tough luck, Thanos. What is it that Whiplash said? If you could make God bleed, people would cease to believe in him. But IDK, I still have my Hulk shrine in the back of my closet, even though he's bled twice. But just how exactly did these villains hurt Hulk? And what could it mean for the future of our hero and these two villains? Let's discuss right now.
What are you, crazy? Yes!
The Hulk is just a downright amazing character and an overall great Avenger. Before getting into the two villains that were able to substantially hurt Hulk, I think it's important to understand just what exactly makes Hulk the Hulk. And no, I'm not just talking about being big and green, wearing purple pants, and sitting around waiting for him to say some type of variation of "you won't like me when I'm angry." Although the origins of the character have been updated, the core of Bruce Banner's transformation remains the same. Banner is a mild-mannered scientist who's hit with a huge dose of gamma radiation, and while that should have probably turned him into a jelly-like substance, instead it made so he turned it into a gigantic rage monster every time Bruce got angry, and this beast would grow more powerful the angrier he got. We've seen a lot of stories that flesh out the Hulk more since his debut in the 1960s, but that's the general gist of it. Fun fact, you know the Hulk was originally gray? It's true. Stan Lee created the Hulk to be a type of misunderstood monster akin to Frankenstein's monster and Quasimodo, and wanted him to be a gray color so that he didn't look human. But the colorist had trouble with the ink in the first few issues, and that resulted in him looking more green than gray. Stan Lee liked it and decided to keep it. Good call, I think. Can you imagine if the Hulk had been gray all this time? I don't think he'd be as well liked and popular. The reason I'm bringing up the Hulk's skin color is because it's actually really important to his strength. Mainly in this video, I'll keep it to the MCU version of the character rather than his comic counterpart, or else things might just get confusing, but I thought it was important to bring up the fact that Hulk does have the ability to change color, and that really affects his strength levels. Like, the gray I mentioned was actually retconned in Marvel Comics to be a legitimate thing. When Hulk turns gray, he's actually smart enough to be a normal person, but he's less of a hero and doesn't care about anyone but himself. In the comics, when Hulk went gray, he changed his name to Joe Fixit and became an enforcer in Las Vegas. Now, wouldn't that be wild to see in the MCU? But his green form is by far his most powerful. It gives him almost impenetrable skin that can't be pierced by anything. In the comics, the only things that have been shown to be able to make him bleed is adamantium and vibranium. But even that isn't always effective, since Hulk gets stronger the angrier he gets. His skin is also pretty resistant to magic, it can resist an insane amount of heat, and it's also constantly emitting gamma rays, and that overall helps his regeneration. So what's my point about Hulk's skin? Well, if you're a mindless drone in some big bad's army, like IDK, a Chitauri alien, or an Ultron sentry, or anything like that, and you come face to face with the Hulk, I would just go ahead and lie down on the floor in a fetal position. You are not going to hurt the Hulk. But okay, let's get into Hulk actually smashing things as well as one of the instances where he bled in the MCU. I'm gonna start with the second fight first, and there's two reasons for that. For one, I think it's more relevant to talk about Mark Ruffalo's version of the Hulk rather than Ed Norton's interpretation. And also, reason number two is the whole reason I'm doing this video is because I wanted to talk about Hulk fighting a giant wolf and I'm getting impatient. I gotta give the people what they want, and I know they want to see Hulk fighting a giant wolf. So okay, Thor Ragnarok is realistically the only version of Planet Hulk that we'll ever see in the MCU. There's a complicated rights issue with the Hulk character, and that's caused a lot of issues when it comes to new solo movies, which is why the Hulk is always a supporting character in other people's films. Sure, there are rumors of a World War Hulk movie in development, and hey, with the multiverse that could totally work now, but let's take those rumors with a grain of salt at the moment, okay? At the end of Age of Ultron, when Hulk and Bruce were upset about the amount of damage they caused, they turned off the tracking to the Quinjet and set off to parts unknown. People speculated that this was setting up a Planet Hulk movie, which in the comics is about the heroes of Earth realizing how dangerous Hulk was, tricking him by sending him off planet, only for Hulk to get knocked off course and arrive on Sakaar and slowly work to take over the entire planet after becoming a star gladiator.
We had no choice.
They worked a version of this into Thor Ragnarok, where it's revealed that while on the Quinjet, he got sucked into a wormhole and wound up on Sakaar and started living his best life as a gladiator, before Thor showed up and ruined everything. No, seriously, Thor did ruin everything. Think about it, the Hulk persona had it all on Sakaar, but when Thor shows up, he's able to help Banner reappear, leave his comfortable life where the Hulk is beloved, and then almost immediately fights Thanos, loses, and then has the Hulk personality stripped away when Professor Hulk shows up. Tough break. But somewhere in the middle of that timeline is Hulk fighting a giant wolf. Hela proved to be a formidable foe for Thor, and during her conquest of Asgard, she awakened long-deceased Asgardian warriors and the giant wolf known as Fenris in order to resume her tyranny. See, back in the old days, when Odin and Hela worked together to expand Asgard across the 9 realms by force, Fenris is what Hela rode into battle. Yeah, that would be intimidating. Like, I'm already scared of Hela's antler things, but having her on the back of a giant wolf? Yeah, I'd give up almost immediately. But what's scarier than a giant wolf? How about a giant zombie wolf? Hela resurrected this beast almost immediately, and it helped keep the living Asgardians in line. And there was only one hero who could take it down, the Hulk. Now, the build-up to Hulk versus Fenris is either one of your favorite moments in Thor Ragnarok or one of your least favorite. Bruce Banner gives a big, dramatic speech about how everything is going to be alright, and then that's immediately undercut by Banner's limp body smacking himself onto the bridge like a wet noodle. But no worries, Hulk soon arrives and the fight is on. Set to one of the 10 best fighting songs ever, Hulk and Fenris trade blows, and it eventually leads them off the bridge and plunges them into the water below. Now this is interesting. As Fenris chomps on Hulk like a chew toy, one fang pierces Hulk's leg, causing green blood to spill out. But why this bite in particular? Fenris was biting Hulk just moments before, and it didn't cause a puncture wound. Maybe one of Fenris's fangs is just sharper than the others. You know, we all have that one good tooth we prefer, right? Maybe that's what happened. Or maybe it was because Hulk lost some of his resolve. Before this, Hulk was in control of the fight and wasn't having much of an issue, but all of a sudden he's pulled below the water and dragged against the ground and could have been disoriented, leading to his anger to be replaced with confusion and just making his skin a little weaker. I sorta like that theory, don't you? Or maybe Fenris's fang is just a powerful undead artifact capable of hurting the Hulk. You know, kind of like a basilisk fang and a Horcrux in the Harry Potter world sort of thing. If that's the case, then Fenris is extremely valuable. But what happened to the wolf? Well, she didn't have the best experience fighting the Hulk. Although the fight underwater seemed to be going the female wolf's way, one punch from the Hulk changed everything, sending Fenris flying over the side of Asgard and into the depths of space. Now, it's easy to say that the wolf perished here, but here's the thing. It already was a zombie. It doesn't technically need to breathe in space. The rest of Hela's army, known as the Berserkers, were all destroyed when Asgard was destroyed, but technically Fenris's body should be floating in space somewhere. Now, the wolf was brought back to life using the Eternal Flame, and I'm not sure the rules of that artifact. If the Eternal Flame is destroyed, does that mean everything that was brought back using it is destroyed as well? Kind of a cut off the head, the body will follow type of thing? It's all very unclear. More than likely, Fenris is a goner and will never see the wolf again, but here's a fun pitch. Imagine that Thor Love and Thunder starts with Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, around the area of Asgard when it explodes, and then he sees the wolf floating around in space afterwards. Now, if the wolf is still alive, Gore could train it and have a powerful ally. If the wolf is just a floating corpse, then something that would be cool is if Gore takes the body, plucks the fang, and makes that into a weapon of some kind. Boom! Now Gore has an item that is powerful enough to pierce the Hulk's body. How cool would that be? Let's go back in time a bit to the very first huge Hulk fight in the MCU. Back when Bruce Banner looked like Ed Norton and Betty Ross was an important character. Yes, I'm talking about the Incredible Hulk, and I just want to say right now, I think the design of this first MCU Hulk is better than the Ruffalo design of the character. There, I said it. Anyway, Hulk fights Abomination in the final fight, and most of the time seems outmatched. Abomination is just a seemingly stronger, more grotesque version of Hulk, and while Hulk displays some impressive and creative moves in this fight, mainly destroying a cop car to make himself a pair of fighting gloves and doing a sonic gamma clap to stop Betty's helicopter from exploding, it doesn't matter because Abomination seems stronger. A key feature to Abomination are the sharp bones that protrude from his skin that seem to grow bigger the angrier Abomination gets. And these bones are the perfect weapon to hurt Hulk. It's probably because the two of them are so similar, but when Abomination has Hulk on the ropes, he drives an elbow spike directly into his left pec muscle, making him bleed. This is interesting because it looks like fact, the scar from this is in Thor Ragnarok, but not in any other movie. So that seems like Taika Waititi wanted to maintain continuity when every other director was just like, nah, who cares? But Hulk getting stabbed here actually causes him to do what I think is considered some pretty smart deductive reasoning. One of the final moves Hulk performs in the Abomination fight is pulling a bone out of Abomination and then using that to stab Abomination himself. He might not have known this was effective if Abomination didn't stab Hulk first. And while fans have been clamoring for more Abomination since 2008, it was only until the recent Shang-Chi that the villain finally returned. And the way Shang-Chi played out, we're definitely seeing him again. Trailers suggested that Abomination and Wong were fighting each other in some type of tournament, but the truth was that those two were actually working together in some capacity, meaning Abomination might be a little more under control and not as much of a bad guy as he was. And we know that Abomination will be back in the She-Hulk TV show, which is great news. Abomination has proved to be the only villain that's still definitely alive to hurt Hulk on a purely physical level, at least in a way that shows. But are we gearing up for another Abomination and Hulk rematch? You know, as much as I want that, I don't see that happening. Both Hulk and Abomination are returning in the She-Hulk TV show, and although Disney has a massive budget, I don't expect them to shell out the millions upon millions of CGI dollars they'd need to adequately have a Hulk versus Abomination fight. But the Hulk should now be a little more nervous. Abomination was a great enemy and adversary for him with powers that could hurt the Hulk. That makes Abomination very valuable in the MCU. So while Abomination and Fenris are the two villains who have caused physically the most damage, I guess we should discuss some of Hulk's other fights as well. Because as we know, not all wounds are physical. While Thanos didn't necessarily make Hulk bleed, the Mad Titan did beat Hulk so badly that it made him not want to come out and fight. Like, sure, the Russo brothers said that the Hulk not coming out for the rest of Infinity War wasn't because Hulk was scared, but rather because Hulk didn't want to fight Banner's battles anymore, but that seems not necessarily true in regards to how those scenes play out in the movie. Yeah, I know original plans had Hulk bust out of the Hulkbuster armor at the end of the fight, but that didn't pan out. But I'm just going off of what we saw in the movie. Anyways, the Thanos fight was interesting because I wonder what would have happened if the fight kept going. Thanos beat Hulk pretty quickly, but the Hulk's whole thing is that he gets stronger the angrier he gets. While Thanos shut down the confrontation with a savage beating, if they kept going, would eventually they have reached a point where Hulk would have grown stronger than Thanos? That's the question. Could other villains in the future cause Hulk to bleed more? Well, there's one character in particular that I'm thinking of. Remember when I said that in the comics adamantium and vibranium are the metals that can pierce Hulk's skin? Well, that makes me think of one particular Canadian mutant with an abundance of adamantium and a long history of fighting Hulk in the comics. That's right, Wolverine. With the X-Men and the mutants eventually folding into the MCU now, I think one thing on everyone's MCU bucket list is seeing a Wolverine and Hulk fight. Those are always so epic and brutal in the comics and cartoons that we need to see that translated in live action. Hey, one way to really establish Wolverine as an absolute beast in the MCU is hurting the Hulk in a way only Abomination and Fenris have done in the past. I've touched briefly on the change of Hulk's character throughout this video, but one thing I want to talk about is whether the Hulk character seems to be getting stronger or weaker the more the MCU goes on. I mean, do you think Ed Norton's Hulk could beat up Mark Ruffalo's Hulk? Sure, I know they're technically supposed to be the same, but you and I both know they're not. Could Abomination's bones still pierce the new Hulk's skin? Are Fenris's fangs and Abomination's bones the same in terms of strength? These are the questions that are keeping me up at night, people. One of the big questions for the Hulk character is what's next for the not-so-jolly Green Giant. I don't think it's unfair to say that the Hulk's character arc has become the most muddled and unsatisfactory out of any main Avenger in the MCU. I mean, Thor Ragnarok introduced the idea that Banner had no clue Hulk was running his body for years on Sakaar.
Banner, listen. What? Sokovia Ultron, that was 2 years ago. What are you saying?
Then there was that whole plot point of Banner being afraid if he turns into the Hulk again, Banner might be gone forever. But then Infinity War had to erase that character arc and make it so Hulk wouldn't come out at all after getting beaten by Thanos, with Banner telling Hulk at the end of the movie that they had issues to work out, only for all those issues to be solved off-screen in time for Endgame in a move that was a funny reveal with Professor Hulk, but avoided the difficult question of what happened with the Hulk personality. Now, thanks to Shang-Chi, we know Professor Hulk is gone and Banner's back. Whew. Got all that? I'm just saying there's a lot to work on with Hulk's character besides just seeing him fight bad guys and wondering on if he can bleed or not. The last question I want to end this video with is, do you think She-Hulk will be able to bleed? Like, will her skin be tougher than the Hulk's since she's the next generation, or will it be weaker because she's an offshoot of the original thanks to Banner's blood? I mean, when Blonsky got Banner's blood, he became arguably stronger than the Hulk, but that's also because of the failed super soldier serum. So could Abomination's bones and Fenris's fangs pierce She-Hulk's skin like they do the Hulk's? I guess only time will tell. Do you think there's any way we could see a three-way fight between Hulk, Abomination, and Fenris? I know that's an incredible long shot, but seeing these three brawlers duke it out, probably on some Super Smash Bros. Level or something, would just be a dream come true, don't you think?